I think this is the first SQL Saturday in Toronto for many years. There was one in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. It was at the local college or local university. I was there.
So nothing changed between now.
No, nothing have changed. No. Same SQL server, same thing, right? Yeah, same thing. But at the time, I was talking about SSIS, right? How many people here know about SSIS? You know? Me too. I have a client that I developed something 6 years ago, and now everything is in prod. He calls me once or twice per year to make some site modification. I have to remember. Oh yeah, look up, right? Those kind of things. Script components. I wish we had got them Toledo. Script component. How people here use Azure Synapse or Data Factory? A few. How many people here know about data warehousing? Data lakehouse? Perfect. Do you have any projects in the town in Azure? Do you have any? Yeah? Some? Correction? Yeah, perfect. There's a lot of people are talking about Azure these days and the lakehouse and stuff like this, but few projects are in the town so far. It's quite new though. Lakehouse arrived in 2020 with Databricks at the time. All right. Let's start. Right. These are the most important people today here, right? Because these are our sponsors, very important here. Because of them, we have this event, we have this nice event, we have the food. Very nice. Also, the community support. There is a Toronto Data Professional community here. I know a few people that are in the administration of that group, the I guess, right? You were there too. So, yeah. So, okay. Next. So, who am I? I'm French. Okay. I'm from Quebec. That's why I have those narration at the bottom of my slide, because you will be able to understand my Franglish a bit better. So I'm from Montreal. I've been data platform MVP for the past 14 years now, working mainly at the time on SSIS a lot. DataView, Visual Studio for Database Professional, right? At the time now that is called SSDT, SQL Server Data Tool that we have with SQL Server now. How to deploy your database on multiple servers, multiple type of SQL servers. A lot of data warehousing experience here, specialized in BI, wrote several books on data integration, and I'm the Montreal Data Platform user group leader. So the agenda today is data lakehouse, basically an Azure Synapse Lake database. What led to it? Why we need it, and how can Azure Synapse Lake database can help us on that one. Jesus, I need a coffee. All right. So the data lakehouse is natural evolution of data lake and data warehouse, and the good reason for it, basically, it all started in 1990s. I would say 1982, maybe with Ralph Kimball at the time. And in 1990s, there was the big boom of data warehouse, data marts, right? They called data warehouses. You had companies like Cognos at the time that were there. You have Hyperion, Hesbase, a lot of these companies here. But everything was based on databases. So it has to be structured, semi-structured. We talk about that in the year 2000 when you have support for XML, but it was basically structured, right? So, but it was not very flexible. Right? work with SSIS. You have Embarcar 20, you have integrity, right? If you run it and you change your data type, SSIS will simply boom, right? It will crash. So, but the database at the time was not very flexible in terms of data type. Putting an image in the 1990s was a challenge into a database, right? We needed to have binary data type. That was not that easy. A video, don't even think about it, right? So, but it was well organized, right? It was easy to query. Performance were very good. Now they said this is not enough, right? I had a project that I was working 2 years ago. We know when you have your shots of COVID, right? They want to know if the nurse gave you the shot properly with the syringe, right? So was it the right angle and everything? So they were taking some small videos, 30 seconds videos with their phone, upload that to a server, and then after that using Spark to analyze if the angle was right and if the shot was efficient. We could not do it with a data warehouse, right? We could not do it with a database. So that's why in the 2010s came the data lakes. Data lakes because you can put everything. You can put videos, images, and you can have multiple versions of your structures, right? Because structure evolve over time. So you can have different schemas. So this is something that is very tough to do with SQL Server. Remember the time I was working at Cirque du Soleil in Montreal, we had to ingest Excel files that for sale from 1985 to 2013 at the time, right? And the structure changed, right? It was a report that we needed to ingest. I was using SSIS at the time, so I had to do some magic to bring that into something like 200 column table, generic table, and try to fit the columns there, the schema there. A data lake would have helped us a lot because you put the files there, and then after that, you let the magic doing by Data Factory or Spark. It's not easier, but it's easier to ingest. So the pros and cons of data warehouses. So data is well organized, as I mentioned before. Query return in sub-seconds. This is very fast, usually. Here, many performance optimization possibilities, right? Indexes, partitioning, distribution if you're using Synapse, all of those things. We have a lot of handles to assess the performance. But we have some challenges here. So it takes time to do a good model. A good data model, it takes time for that. And a good data model that is easy to query, right? Because you can have a turn normal form model that is quite easy to do. Some tools would help you to do it. But something that is easier to query is like a star schema, okay? So a star schema, you need to put some thought into it. You need to basically take the time to design that model. And a lot of companies now, they don't want to invest too much time in those kind of things. So they say, oh no, let's put it there. So, and we'll deal with that later. We call it a technical debt, right? So, but the technical debt, we're going to pay big time after. So these are the challenges that we have here. It's schema right. So it means that we need to have a predefined schema. And we have data type limitation, as I mentioned before. Also, the storage limited amount of data, right? Less history, because it's much more expensive to store the data into a database, be it on-prem or in Azure, than if we put it into a data lake, right? A storage account will cost a few bucks for 5 terabytes. So that's pretty much cheap compared to a database. So data lake, they are file-based. Basically, it's files that we put there. Any type of file, right? Videos, photos, images, semi-structure, non-structure. You can have text, plain text there. I remember the last time I was in Toronto in 2014 when I was presenting. At the time, I presented on HD Insight, and I was showing something that was called word count, right? We have a text, and we wanted to count with the magic of HD Insight in Java. How many times I encountered the word IT, how many times I encountered the word person, and stuff like this, and we had a file. After 5 minutes, We had a file that was that contains all of that. So those kind of things that are hard to do, because if I have a text into a database, yes, I can have some specialized indexes for that, but it's not the best place to put that here. The challenges: query will return in seconds instead of sub-seconds, but that's normal. Basically, with this, I'll show you that later with Synapse serverless pool, just to wake up the machine, right? To wake up the serverless compute. It's going to be in seconds, but after that, you can have results in 1 second or sub-second. So it's possible. Once it cache, it's possible to have it. So consistency of data may vary, of course, because you might have multiple structure there. And it's schema on read. So unless you use the lake database or some type of or Delta Lake, it's hard to query this data sometimes, depending on what you have here. So the data lakehouse combine both of the previous architecture here. So we have some kind of schema on write and schema on read, basically. So you have unlimited storage. Here, you're not limited by your database here. And it's easy. You also have the possibility, I'm sorry, to query it easily using the Lake database. I'm going to show you that later. How many people here work with Delta Lake? A few? Okay. So this is the concept of the data lakehouse, right? The lakehouse are architecture here. So you have your sources here, might be streaming, might be files, might be databases. We put them into a raw zone, right? Sometimes called bronze. That's why we have that color here. It's not easy to see where you are, but this is bronze here, kind of bronze, brown. Then after that, we're going to validate this data, right? Basically, if you did data warehouse before, it's your staging data warehouse data mart, right? Or if you use data mart, it's landing, staging, data mart. The same concept that we have, but adapted to the data lakehouse. Because what we did in the past, right? In the past, we still have those projects like that with the data warehouses, right? We have the staging. We validate the data when we go into our data warehouse. And then after that, we apply the business rules when we go to our consumption zone, which is the data mart. Now, one thing here, raw and validated are always in the lake, in the data lake as files. The gold here, which is the consumption zone, might be your SQL Server database. Because you keep all the history in bronze and silver. Gold, you might decide what you want to keep there. Right? So Synapse Lake databases. Here. This is an overview of the architecture of it. So you have your bronze database. You can use templates or not. I'm going to talk about that later. You can visually create databases. So something like we have with ERWin before that, Power Designer Visio. We're able to design visually our databases. And then after that, we store it into a storage account here. And we're going to modify them to transform the data using pipelines here. And then after that, we're going to consume it using SQL Pool or Spark or Power BI. So the concept of it is basically we want to have a way to represent our data lakehouse. Because this is the same reason why we had the enterprise relationship diagram before with Power Designer or ERWin. This is the same reason here. So the supported format are CSV or Parquet. Delta should be coming soon, I hope. So this is something that is very... Delta, for those who don't know what is Databricks Delta, we call it Databricks Delta, but it's the Delta Lake. It's a special format that they use that is open source. You go to delta.io, and it gives you the capability to do merge with your table. Because with the Parquet file, you can do a merge. With the CSV file, you can do a merge. You cannot delete. You cannot update, right? So with the Delta Lake, with Delta format, we can do all of this. So, and then after that, we can design the primary keys, the foreign keys, relationship, partitioning. We can describe our entities with that. So the metadata here, and then they can be exposed using the serverless pool, Apache Spark. And if we use the Parquet file, we can use external table with the Synapse SQL pool. So we can start from scratch when we want to design them. We can start from scratch. So basically, I create my table. I can use existing data on my data lake. In my data lake, I'm going to show you that later. And we have some predefined schemas for various business areas that Microsoft provides to us. Who here heard about the common data model of Microsoft? A few people, maybe. Common data model is something that appeared in 2018 at Ignite conference. It was something that was meant to do. How many times did we modelize an account table, a product table, right? So they said, why don't we do something that is a generic product table that people will be able to reuse? So this was the goal of the common data model. And we were able to design our common data model using Power BI. So we import our data in Power BI. Then after that, we're able to store it into Databricks, interact with it, and push it after that to the consumers. So this is the same thing because how many times when we design a data mart, we always have to, okay, what is the customer that I mentioned? What is a customer table, right? We all do almost the same thing. Well, we might want to customize them, but we start with the same entities type, right? We have a lot of entities. So this is the goal of the database templates. It's an evolution of the common data model. All right, let's go to the designer. This is the schedule and lake demo. Perfect. Let me go here. Right. So how to create a lake database? Basically, we simply go here and we create a lake database. We have a few options. Let me make it bigger. Perfect. We have a few options here. We can create a SQL database. SQL database will be SQL dedicated pool or serverless pool. The dedicated pool is the one that is very expensive but very powerful. Or you have the serverless pool that costs something like $6 and something per terabyte. So it's based on consumption. The more you consume data, the more you pay with the serverless pool. So, and then after that, you have the lake database, which is similar to the serverless pool, but we can interact with it using designers, data flows, and Spark. So, and let me show that to you. What I can do here now, I have a few that have been created. I go here, and I say open. When I open this database here, let me go in full screen here. With Synapse, okay. Let me remove this here. The way I created this database is quite easy. I said I want to add a new table. If I'm adding a new table here, I can create a custom one, empty one, and then I say this is my table here. Or I can, from templates, these are the common data model template that I was talking to you about. You can search for keyword, customer. So customer, you will go, if I type properly here, you go in retail, continue, and then you will have a lot of tables here, templates. Once, yeah, here. Then customer here, I have the customer table here. I can say, you know what? Let's bring this table here. Now I want to customize it. Now here I can go into columns and I can remove some column. I can add some columns here. So I don't want the customer type ID. Basically, I will be able to remove it. And this is my, so I reuse something that was already existing. They have the right data type. They have the metadata here. They said, don't know if you see properly here. Yeah, you see, I have the right data type, a node, comment, additional information, all the metadata is there. Nullable or not, everything is there for me, and the date format, the length of my string. So this is something that already exists that I can add to my model and customize it to my taste. And they have a lots of these custom table here. So the other way of doing it, this is the way that we do it most of the time, is that we already have existing data. So from the data lake, we need to use a name here, test, link service. When you, this is the one that comes with Synapse when you create your workspace. You might create a link service to another lake here, a connection to another lake. And I can go to bronze here, and I can go, this is my table here. Continue. Yeah, it's going to infer. Yeah, previewing file. The data maximum string length is just an indication. So I can say 100 here. The format is Parquet. I can preview the data here from that table. So this is basically the three ways that we can create tables here. It's called changes here. Perfect. So this is how it works. Now, once I created that here, let me go to my other. This is like the MoDB. Perfect. We have a navigator here that helps. Perfect. So the small navigator, I can go there. Now I can create relationships. Relationships are not enforced using foreign keys, right? It's not a real database, but it's just an indication how the data should be linked when we do our transformations. And we have also the mapping, the map data tool here. That it's kind of a wizard that creates mapping data flows here that will use those relationship here to tell you, okay, you want to do a lookup, you want to do, you want to do a join. So using those relationships, it will help them to guess what type of joins you want to do. So basically, this is the state abbreviation here. And if I go to state abbreviation, I use it because it's a simple table. I said the abbreviation is my primary key here. And I said the length is 5 here. And the state name is 100. So, and then after that, to link it, I went to relationship here. And I said, okay, you're going to link it to relationship to state abbreviation here. So I said state abbreviation, state by state to abbreviation. So just to show you, it's here. So this is how it works. So I can link it. So it's relationship to those three tables are linked to that table here. What's interesting also is that I can also do something else. I can do partition columns. So it's going to, I say text here, right? So in that table here, I have a lot of data, right? So just to show you the structure of those table here. Show the structure of those tables. I'm going to here. State abbreviation is easy. State tax information. This is the table here. So you see I have a lot of column here. This is something that I took from a sample that we have on the web. I'm interested in a few columns here, which is the this one, NO 2650, which is the income that we have per state. You need to know it. We need to have a data dictionary here. I should have put that here, right? But since we have a lot of column, I didn't take the time to do it. My bad. So this is how it works. How I use this data. Basically, after that, I can simply integrate it into my Lake database here, and I can create a mapping data flow on top of it. So just to show you here, this is our customer table. Let me go to that here. All right. So this is my Lake database. This is my info on taxes here. And this is what I wanted to do. We need to use the serverless pool here to show you the data that we have here. Let me remove this. There is a lag here. Okay, perfect. All right. Lot of columns. Then I can do a search on the column that I want. I have the zip code. I have the states here. We call it state, but it's state abbreviation. and I have all of the columns that I want here. The other table that I have is a table that I brought from the samples of Synapse here, which is census here. What I want to do with this database, I want to do relationship between the population in counties and the incomes that you have in those states here, right? To get an average of it. When I show you the mapping data flow after that, it's going to be clear. So I have the state name here, a lot of nulls here for some reason, and we have some data for sure there. Anyway, for some reason, it's all null this morning. So nice. All right, this is the let me show you the data here. State information here. State information. No, this is not what I want. Yeah, this is the one here. Script. No, this is the one. This was the one here. Yep. Let's see if we are more in luck here, because sometimes we use samples from database here. Like, fine, and run it. If it works, no, okay, because I haven't published this database. But basically, we want to, sorry? Yeah, here. By mistake. The last row? Oh, okay, here, thank you. The from, thank you. Thank you very much. Same thing, so it's seen that this table for some reason is empty. That's nice. It was not. I did the same presentation for Data Platform Summit a few weeks ago. Everything was working, but I didn't print the demo guide this morning. That happened. But anyway, you're going to understand the concept soon. So let's go to here, my demo here. Like the database demo. This is not the one I want. Let me close it. Jeez, why I'm looking at that screen here? But let me close a few here, a few things here. Perfect. Let's close everything. Yes. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. So this is the designer, and once we have populated the data with it, you're able to let me go back to query your data. So how do we integrate data into the Lake database here? We can use Synapse pipeline, mapping data flows here, yeah, or we can use notebooks, Spark Notebook or Spark Jobs here. These are the two ways to populate those table here. So let's go back to my designer here, and let me open the Lake demo DB. I want to open it. So we have a few ways to populate it. So we can say map data here. It's going to ask me what the database it is. It is it a storage account? Is it a Lake database? Let's say Lake database. My database will be the Lake demo DB. And then after that, he asks me what tables. Then I click on continue. This is kind of an import-export wizard, right? To be honest with you, I think I did too many data flows by hand, right? So I don't like it much. But anyway, now I said the data mapping name. Let me have name here. All right, click on OK. All right, now it's loading. It's going to load us a wizard here. They have some work to do on that wizard, because business users will not be able to use it. You need to understand what is a lookup. You need to understand what is a join. And business users, sometimes they don't understand it. So you see, I can do a mapping here, add a new mapping. I select my mapping method, which is direct. Let me check here. Make it bigger. Perfect. So the mapping method here is direct, surrogate key, lookup, and it's basically it's all the derived. Yeah, zoom in. Okay, let me just down here, right? So it's basically everything that we have into the mapping data flow: direct, surrogate key, lookup, pivot, aggregate. Can do some aggregation here. Windows function, lower, derived columns, right? It's kind of a wizard over your derived column here, or over your mapping data flow, basically. So and then after that, you can say, you select your column here. If you select your table, you select your column, and your target column will be this, right? So basically, this is not something that I would use to create my mapping data flow, because when we create mapping data flow, we want to do a bit more. Right here. Thank you. So nice. Perfect. Okay, let me go here. Mapping data flow. And my sources. When we use a workspace database here, when we use a lake database, I would say I'm using workspace DB. This is something that we don't have in Azure Data Factory. We only have it with Synapse here, Azure Synapse. And then I say what database I'm using and what table I'm using. And then after that, if I do a data preview, I can import the projection. I can do a data preview here. And we'll see our data. See? So this is the data that we have here. Then after that, this is something that you don't have with the wizard. How many states we have? We have something like 50, 51, maybe with DC. So I'm going to do a sync cache here. So I'm going to put that data in every workers, basically. It's like a replicate with SQL Server, the execute pool, or a broadcast. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that sync cache here. And I will say, you know what? You're going to use the state name here to give me the state abbreviation. It's a simple lookup here in memory. Then I use my other table here, which is the state tax information here. And we don't have a lot of option when we use those workspace DB, right? I can do the data preview here, but I don't have the preview button that we have with other type of sources. And also, source option, we don't have any, right? So I can import my projection here. I can optimize. I can always set up the partitioning here. And basically, after that, I can do a preview. So I won't go through all my sources here that I have, because and what I want to populate is my sync at the end of the day. Here, perfect. Let me take some time to refresh. Perfect. So I'm going to take my census population here, filter by tax here. All kind of things that are hard to do with the wizard here. My filter is year 2010. I'm sorry. Here I'm filtering those files here, that database here. Again, it's a table into database, but I cannot do a query on top of it like I would do with the serverless pool, right? I'm quite limited for now with it. I have to use the table as it is and use the filters that I have into my mapping data flow. Here, then after that, I have a few derived column here. Let me move it. Yeah, perfect. A few derived column here. You know that this is how I'm using my sync, my cache data flow here. You see, I use sync cache state, which is the name of my sync here. I do look up at the state name to get the abbreviation. The beauty of this is because when you do a standard lookup, it's going to bring you all the columns that you have into that into the lookup, right? Like in my case, like I would have the state name and the abbreviation. I would need to do a select for that, the select object for that to remove those superfluous column, right? Because I don't need them. So by using a cache lookup, I just bring the column that I need to. This is very powerful. Of course, you cannot have millions of rows there, but for standard lookup tables like we use in the data warehouse, usually that's fine. If you have millions of customers, you will not use it, but and then after that, I do in aggregation. I'm sorry, aggregation state, and then after that, I'm going to do some other derived column, and then I'm going to populate my sink here, my final table. So once that table is populated, I run this data flow before. I can go to my serverless pool here to see that table here and say top 100 rows and run it. Yeah. Of course, all the nulls column that I had before. If I was using the good one, that would be better here. Population here. Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you keep do you have some kind of background process that should update it? Because
Now, what do you mean? It's in my lake, right? It's in my lake. The database is simply metadata over my lake. And I'm using that same because in the background, what the mapping data flow is doing, it's going to connect to my storage account, right? So my lake database is based on a link service storage account. So what it's going to do, it's going to connect to those folders, right? And then after that, what I inserted, the data that I have here, has been inserted into another folder.
try to query it, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Oh.
Nothing's changed as far as I can see, and it's still.
It's not the same table I was trying to query. Yeah. So here. So if I go to my storage account here, you're going to say I have several layers. Yeah, US population count here. This is not what I want. So I go to my demo here, the root here, and my bronze and my gold here, right? If I go to my bronze here, if I go to state abbreviation, state information, US population count, this is the one that I had nulls here. Okay. If I go select script, this one I think it's is it Parquet? I think it is. Let's try it. Parquet or text? I need to check inside. But anyway, I can query it here, and if we have an error, we say text. That's fine. So this is how it works. So everything is based on my lake. Yeah, it was text here, but everything is based on my lake, right? So the database is simply a representation of the metadata that I have in my lake. So it helps us to understand easier, because right now you see I'm going here, is it Parquet, is it text? I'm not sure, right? But if I have it into my data model, my lake database, I will not ask this question, because when I use my mapping data flow here, I don't select if it's, you go back here. This is the thing with Synapse sometime. Okay, here. When you have many things open, yeah, let me go here. Okay, if I go here, now, if I don't use the workspace database, I use an inline here. Okay, if I use inline, I have to choose what type of data set I have, right? And then after that, I need to, if I'm going to storage account, I need to decide, is it delimited, is it Parquet? So what that thing is done with the lake database, it's isolate me from that. Someone else will design the lake database, and a data engineer will design the mapping data flows on top of it. Does it answer your question? Okay, perfect. So this is the goal of it, right? Before that, you have the data architect that was designing your data model. Now you design your data model. This is what I like about this, and I like about the common data model. You design your model using the real data, right? The data that you have. So it's not something that someone has in mind. Oh yeah, that should be, the data should be linked like that. No, you're going to see it right away with your real data. So now the mapping data flow doesn't refresh for some reason. Synapse, yeah. Okay, perfect, it's there. So this is how it works. This is the data integration with the mapping data flow here. I can also do Spark. So if I go with Spark here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my table. Where? Here. workspace. Here, the same table, and new notebook, load to data frame. And then I'm going to select my Spark pool here. I can start it, but just to show you the way it works, basically, you have the lake demo DB with kind of, is it the character? I never remember. You know, that small character that we have in front of lake demo DB. So this is the way that we're going to query it. And what's nice about it is that we can create delta tables in the lake database. It's in preview for now, but we cannot use it in the mapping data flow. But we can use it in Spark. So we have half of the story for now. But Microsoft is working a lot on delta, basically on performance, because they want to make sure that when we have a delta table, performance will be very good. Here they want to bring delta to 2.0 now, right? So we can look at it, but it's going to load my data frame here. And after that, we can do df.show here. So I can use the PySpark. I can use SQL with the same thing here. So I could have a cell doing SQL instead. And I'm just going to add a code here and UL. And that's about it. I would be able to do the same thing. I'm missing a character here, but I will be able to do the same thing. So it takes a few minutes for my cluster to start, right? The machine to eat up. So, but this is how it works. So these are the ways to interact with the lake database here. Go here. No, database integration. I got F5. Oh, wow, at the beginning, so nice. Go here. That's where we were, and go here. Perfect. Okay, so this is what I showed you. Now demo is done. So to sum up, the data lakehouse combines the best of both worlds, right? Because this is one thing that we like to have here because we want to be able to use our data lake capability, the exploration capability, easy to query. It's easy to ingest, right? I simply need to upload files and query them, right? Even what's nice with Synapse, if I have Excel Excel files, I double click on it, it's going to open to another window with Excel Online, which is nice. So I don't need to download my Excel and have a look at it. And the other thing is we can query CSV, Parquet, Delta is coming up. That's very easy to do here. Also, Synapse Data Pipeline contains all the transformation we need to interact with it. We saw that we're able to do a filter on top of it. And yeah, one thing I would demo now, it's Power BI, because we can connect with Power BI to the Lake database here. So this is the last thing I'm going to show you. Power BI. Open it. In the meantime, yes, we have data frames here. So df.show. Here, if I knew at 2 times, that would help. Okay, and I will run this. Perfect. And now this is the content of my table. We're going to show it here. And in the meantime, Power BI will be started. Yeah. A data frame? Oh, yeah. Good question. Yeah. I'll show you a data frame here. A data frame is a container. It's yeah. I'm just waiting for that to finish. It's an array at some point. So a data frame. Good question. Thanks. When we do Spark, when we do notebooks, when you Python or we do Scala or whatnot, we're using mainly the data frames because this is the way to load data and interact with it after. Do some kind of transformation using Python, using Scala. We're using data frame here. It's an in-memory representation of your data. Then after that, the other way to do it is to use SQL. Yeah, get data. is to use SQL. SQL, we don't use a data frame, but underneath it's creating a data frame to interact. Because what those things are doing, right? The notebook is sending the query to your Spark engine. Okay, the mapping, data flow, all the transformation we're doing, at the end of the day, they are queries that are sent to Spark underneath. And with Synapse, what's nice is that we can see the queries that are sent to the Spark engine. We go to Spark application, we can see the queries there, which is very nice. So, and let me just that thing here, and so we can connect. It's a beta connector, so it's not working very well, but still in beta. Here, so now from Power BI, I can connect. What I want to show you is that from Power BI, I can connect to my Lake database here. Lake database demo. Here, right? DemoDB. Open. Perfect. My tables, I can look at this table. Yeah, preview. And you're going to see it's in beta because we get some errors here. You see? Column state abbreviation all the time. So I can query other tables, but the one that I created, right, from the Lake database, the sync from the Lake database is not working in Power BI. But Microsoft will correct it, I guess. I sent a request to them because I said, how come I had this issue? And you see, now get back to my notebook. This is the result here. But I could do SQL at the same time, and SQL would not use a data frame. SQL would be direct. Oh, yeah. Sorry? Direct query. Direct query, yes. AS, good question about that, because AS, Power BI is AS, right? Basically, Power BI is a cube. Okay, and Microsoft now, they are migration that they announced it at Ignite, right? To migrate from AAS to Power BI, because they want to get rid of AAS at some point, right? Because it's quite old, I would say 2011, 2012, right? AAS, and they incorporated everything into Power BI Premium. So I'm talking about Power BI Premium here, right? So this is why, so you don't need AS if you have Power BI, because Power BI, at the basic, is a cube, right? A tabular cube, and you have some fancy viz on top of it. So basically, yeah, yeah. But you have a way, yeah, it's that direct query here. But you could always import the data if you wanted to. You can always transform, because when we have the transform data, right, you can import it. But with serverless pool, because it's going to use the serverless pool, okay? So the goal is to use direct query as much as possible, because it's going to be slow the first time, but it's going to be faster after. So the first time would take 10 seconds, after that would take 1 second. So the goal is to use it. But if you have millions of rows, right, import. You use the serverless pool if you have real-time data, right? Or you basically mean the way I'm using the serverless pool with Power BI is that I'm going to schedule a job instead of going to my Synapse, the schedule pool that costs me money and it uses a lot of resources. I'm going to query my serverless pool instance. So if it takes half an hour to refresh 1 million rows in Power BI, I don't care, right? So that's okay, because after that, Power BI will be refreshed every 5 hours, every day, so that's okay. But while Power BI refreshes during the day, I'm not penalizing my database. So yeah, so the answer is both ways are there. So direct query at first, and then after that. So now, so this is, let me just close my Power BI here. Perfect, because it prevents me to go for, perfect. Let's go here. If I could do select statement on my database here, and I will get the same results here. Keep calm, 5 minutes if. Thank you. I'm good. It's like we're on TV here, right? They arrive here. All right. So, do you have any questions? Yep. Go ahead.
Had a major
Delta. Delta.
kind of
Delta Lake.
application.
Me, I see because I'm working on a big international project with a Singapore company, right? And we're using Synapse here, okay? The thing is, I like to use this to do my data model, okay, to do the representation of it. But application that can use it, if you can connect to a serverless pool, so the endpoint of Synapse, you can use it with any application, right? I will not use it with the APIs because the time it takes to respond, the response time is too slow. But if you use it using external tables with SQL Server dedicated pool, like Synapse dedicated pool, it will be faster. This is how I would use it. The
You need the
Yeah, yeah, it's always faster. But the thing is, because we have more compute there, right? So the thing is, the lake database is simply the representation of your storage in your data lake. Okay, it's
basically back it off if we are choosing
yeah,
more like a traditional,
data warehouse. Yes,
right?
yes, yes. But
What's the advantage?
oh no, no. I'm just saying that if you want performance, I was talking about the APIs. If you want performance, right? No, no. I will not go to the, even though they have the SQL Server link, the SQL Server link now to Synapse, right? So they bypass the data lake entirely. They are using the data lake to store temporary data, then they push it to Synapse. They call it the Synapse link, right? They have it. But the data lakehouse is there to stay because uh, more companies are investing there because sometimes was showing you the bronze, silver, gold before, right? Data scientists, they don't want to know anything about my gold, right? They want to go to the bronze layer. But having this data model showing them this is the tables we have in the bronze layer helps them a lot because they will say, okay, this is the data. Can have some metadata, the description of those tables. So that might be very useful for them. You understand? So, but the biggest limitation for now is the Delta format. We don't have the data format there, and Microsoft knows we need it. So this is the main thing here.
That they already support the
Sorry?
that they already support the data.
Delta, they support Delta in the serverless pool. In the Lake database, it's in preview. I can create it from the Spark notebook, but I cannot use it in mapping data flow. Right? Any other questions?
How is data format different from podcasts?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Good question. And we have a few minutes just to show you delta.io. Here. If I go to delta.io, if I have some network here, that might help. Yeah. This is my personal thing. Delta. Okay. Slowly but surely, it's going to go there. So, Delta Lake. So, what's the difference between the Delta Lake? What they talk about the Delta Lake here? Yeah, this is where I wanted to go. Delta.io. So, it's a format that gives you like if it was a database. You use your Parquet file like if it was a database. Basically, what they did, they put a log file inside of your folder for your Parquet file. Because when you create a table with the Delta, it's going to create a folder for you, and inside that folder you have a log, and that log will tell you you deleted that row. So the row that you're looking for has been deleted, right? So you can find it. I can do version history, so I can time travel. It's like a temporal table with SQL Server. I can time travel to the last version when I had this row here. Hey, click here. Come on. So I can do time travel with it. I can have ACID transaction with it. So ACID transaction in the lakehouse here. Perfect. And this is the page I wanted to show you before. So all the advantages here, production ready, the latest key feature, asset transaction, time travel, um, unified batch and streaming. So basically, it's Parquet files that you're going, but the log there, the log folder there, this is what you need. Audit history, DML, insert, update, delete. Insert, we can always do it, but update and delete, merge, we can do it with. So this is the advantage. So this is a key feature that we miss with the Lake database for now, and Microsoft is aware of that. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it depends, right? For lending database, maybe not, right? We want to use Delta for one thing, right? Because it's columnar, right? Format. It's small. 15 megabytes might be 1 megabyte, right? So the smaller it is, the less compute we pay, and the faster it is, and it comes with the headers, the metadata, and everything. I don't have to mess with the right data types, right? So me, I rarely use Parquet. I use Delta most of the time. Right? Yeah, go ahead.
So let's say you got a database,
Yeah.
and you change the column name, and then you have like 100 Power BI reports using the table. So obviously, if one column name, is there a quick way for me to correct all the measures in the, but I don't go to each other then?
You know what? This is a very interesting question. The question is, if I change a column name into my model, and I have 100 Power BI reports, how can I change them? Right? All of them in a batch, not opening them one by one and change the model, right? So this is an interesting question. When I was, my God, I was right here, guys, 20 years ago at CIBC, 21 years ago, I was working, was using a tool called Hummingbird Genio, which was an ETL tool. And when we change a column like that, it will tell us, do you want to change it in all of your ETLs, right? And if we click on yes, it was doing it. Unfortunately, Genio, Genio, Genio at the time. Yeah, I'm not sure it exists anymore. No, Auto, but it was good. It was Canadian at the time. So Corel is still there. Corel is still there. No, it was good. But to answer your question, there are no easy way to my knowledge that we can do it. Unfortunately, because you need to open your your PBIX, right? Because everything is stored into your data set. So there is no magic bullet for that one. But I can check if you can give me your name. I can check. Write to me on LinkedIn and you can ask me the question. But you have some other session on Power BI. Maybe they have the answer, but. The REST API, you could do it probably to change your dataset using the REST API. It's okay. Right, guys? Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Follow up.
Yeah.
The data table.
Yeah.
This is the data lake.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of if we know why we have the data lake.
Yeah.
It's because relational it's too restrictive.
Yeah.
There's all this kind of acid properties.
Yeah.
So they get rid of them.
Yeah, but the data lake is something
Now,
because I can have any data types.
We are.
Yeah. I know.
Saying,
We're getting
okay,
back.
We want this.
Look.
So, what's your opinion on this kind of?
I think the Delta Lake is needed for a few things to do update in the lead DML, right? Data manipulation language. Because of that, because yeah, I'm taking your spot here. Yeah. So it's needed, right?
Yeah.
This is something that we need. Now the constraint that they're having, right? Async transaction, we have them, but accidentally, right? Continue moving.